Good morning, everyone. We're going to need everybody to quiet down. At this time, we're going to kindly ask everyone to make sure your phones are turned off or put on silent out of respect. And I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Powell to begin our ceremony.
Good morning. We would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. Today, more than 1,200 First Nations, Inuit, and Métis Canadians serve with the Canadian Forces at home and overseas. During the First and Second World Wars, as well as the Korean War, thousands of Aboriginal men and women voluntarily enlisted in Canada's armed forces. Their notable contributions to the war effort became a source of inspiration and self-confidence in themselves, to their communities, and to Canadians in general. We honor those who served by commemorating Aboriginal Veterans Day on November 8th. This year also commemorates the Emeritis, which means the 100th anniversary of the ending of World War I.
Good morning, everyone. Every year on November 11th, Canadians pause in a silent moment of remembrance for the men and women who have served and continue to serve our country during times of war, conflict, and peace. More than 2.3 million Canadians have served our country in this way, and more than 118,000 have died. They gave their lives and their futures so that we may live in peace. For many of us, war is seen through the lens of a television camera or a journalist's account of fighting in distant parts of the world. Even items such as photographs, uniform badges, medals, and diaries can seem vague and unconnected to the life and experiences of their owner. For those of us born during peacetime, all wars seem far removed from our daily lives.
We often take for granted our Canadian values and institutions, our freedom to participate in cultural and political events, and our right to live under a government of our choice. The Canadians who went off to war in distant lands went in the belief that the values of Canadians were being threatened. They truly believed that without freedom, there can be no ensuring peace, and without peace, no enduring freedom. By remembering their service and their sacrifice, we recognize the tradition of freedom these men and women fought to preserve. They believed that their actions in the present would make a significant difference for the future, but it is up to us to ensure that their dream of peace is realized. On Remembrance Day, we acknowledge the courage and sacrifice of those who served their country and acknowledge our responsibility to work for the peace they fought hard to achieve.
At this time, I want to ask everyone to please stand as you're able for the playing of our national anthem. You may be seated. Ms. Powell? Ladies and gentlemen, that was our symphonic band under the direction of Ms. Powell. At this time, we're going to call Michael McCormack, our first guest speaker for the day. We are very fortunate to have a speaker to give us a real life experience.
Hi, good morning. As mentioned, my name is Mike McCormack. I served 14 years in the Canadian military, getting to the rank of sergeant before leaving in 1988. I was a reservist, which meant really I was a part-time soldier, while at the same time initially going to school, in high school as you are here, and then having a job and parading 1 to 2 nights a week and 1 weekend a month, in addition with a couple of weeks a year for training. Luckily, I've served all over Canada and in 3 continents. Now that's the thumbnail snapshot. To go a little further, I'd always wanted to be a soldier from when I was a little boy to I got my chance when I turned 17 for joining what I really intended was a summer job, but ended up staying 14 years. I was in a World Reconnaissance Unit called the Queen Truck Rangers based in Fort York Armories, just outside the CNE grounds in Toronto. Being a reconnaissance soldier means being the eyes and ears of the brigade commander, usually out in front of the battle group, and looking for and hopefully finding an enemy before he finds us. While it is true I never saw combat, but what I did see was the after effects of combat while serving overseas in the Middle East as part of a United Nations peacekeeping group in 1977 to 78. Well, it was separating the Egyptian and Israeli armies after the 1973 war. I spent a year there, from 77 to 78. I was based in Egypt and the Suez Canal just outside the town of Ismailia. As I said, I never saw combat, but I saw the after effects of combat. One of it was my very first day after my rotation touchdown at the airport in Cairo. After getting off the plane, I saw many scorch marks on the edges of the tarmac where planes had been destroyed on the ground by the Israelis. This meeting made me realize that this is going to be a whole new experience for me. Over the next year, I saw many other signs of war, from burnt-out tanks in areas of the town outside of Smilia to the total devastation, or near total devastation, of the town of Suez City at the southern end of the Suez Canal. There were also destroyed vehicles and debris fields all over the buffer zone in the Sinai Peninsula. It was a very eye-opening experience for me and life-changing as well. I got to see things and places I'd only read about in books, learned about in history class, as well as being taught in catechism class. I went to a Catholic school, that's an elementary school. Now remember, soldiers are people just like you, your parents and teachers. We just do a different job. We're here today to remember those who have come before us, those who went off to war, but never came home. Some are buried in distant battlefields, some in consecrated ground in cemeteries from far away or just around the corner. We must always remember them and the sacrifices they made for the freedom we now enjoy as Canadians. Thank you.
At this time, we have a performance of the song Hallelujah by an a cappella group.
Well, I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? And it goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, and the major lift, the vow, king, composer. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Well, your faith was strong, but you needed proof. You saw her bathing on the roof, her beauty in the moonlight overthrew you. She tied you to the kitchen chair, she broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah. 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 Well, baby, I've been here before. I've seen this room and I've walked this floor. I used to live alone before I knew you. And I've seen your flag on the marble arch. And love is not a victory march, it's a cold and it's so broken. Hallelujah. 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 Well, maybe there's a God above, but all I've ever learned from love was how to shoot somebody who outdrew ya. And it's not a cry that you hear at night. It's not someone who's seen the light. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah.
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep though poppies grow in Flanders fields. Your blessings every day. The monsters go away. Everything will be okay. You are not alone. You are right at home. Good night. Ooh.
still be here. For we all have our nightmares, even me, my dear. From now on, if you need me, you can sing this song. There's a light in the hallway, burning all night long. So count your blessings every day. It makes the monsters go away. Everything will be okay. You are not alone. You are right at home. Good night.
At this time, I would like to call upon our second guest speaker, Sergeant Michael McBride.
Thank you. I just want to say, first of all, thanks for having me out at your school, but more importantly, thank you for participating in this act of remembrance. It's very important, and kind of what I want to talk about is why we do these acts of remembrance. What's the point of this? What are we getting out of this? So we talk about remembering the sacrifices of the fallen, those who gave their lives or limbs, or were physically injured or emotionally scarred coming back from war. And we talk about they died for our freedom. They paid the ultimate sacrifice so we could be free. But what does that really mean? We're so removed from war. We're so removed from violence that it's often lost on us. And I think it's important to reflect on that, how that actually works. I'm reminded of a quote that I heard a while ago that resonated with me, and it's, every country has a military, either their own or somebody else's. And what I think what that speaks to is that it's vitally important that we have men and women who are willing to put themselves into harm's way to protect our values, to protect what we value, what's important to us, and to protect, so that we can build a society that protects the sick, that is prosperous, that allows us to live free and peacefully. I had the privilege of going to the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Vimy Ridge, which is an important battle during World War I in 1917. I was there last year, and part of the trip that was, when I was there, was going around to all the battlefield graves and seeing all the tombstones laid out. And it's, you hear numbers like 118,000 Canadians died, or, millions of soldiers have given their lives over the years, and it doesn't really hit home until you're standing in the middle of a field full of graves that are just extending as far as the eye can see in every direction, and realizing that each one of those tombstones is somebody's life. It's somebody with a family, with friends, with colleagues that paid the ultimate sacrifice so that you could be sitting here today in a free and prosperous country. So I think that's one of the reasons we remember. But I think the other, almost as important, if not more important, reason is that so we can remember what happened in the past so we don't repeat it, so we don't make those same mistakes of the past, that we can truly believe that never again should anyone have to go through that. So. Again, thank you for having me, and thank you for participating in this Remembrance Day ceremony.
At this time, I would like to call upon our grade 9 vocal class to sing a song in memory. If I can kindly turn your attention to your left, I have Miss Powell and her symphonic band.
At this time, I will kindly ask everyone to please stand for a moment of silence.
One day every year, we pay special homage to those who died in service to their country. We remember these brave men and women for their courage and devotion to ideals.
We wear poppies, attend ceremonies, and visit memorials. For one brief moment of our life, we remember why we must work for peace every day of the year.
I want to thank everyone for being in attendance today. On your way out, if you did not get a poppy, we're going to be distributing poppies. There's also going to be postcards if you wish to fill out a postcard, which will be sent to a soldier. Thank you, and continue to support a day like today to remember the people that have lost their lives for us so we can have our freedom.